recording?
Okay, you are being recorded now.
Oh. Okay, so we're gonna get started. Hi all of our patrons for the Red Nation podcast. Yeah, wave. This is Melanie Yazzie, co-host of Red Power Hour. You get to see my face for this. We're recording. Wow, we're recording. What day is this? On a Sunday evening, Sunday the 8th, the 5th. Dang, it's the 6th.
It is the 6th.
Sunday, July 6th. Friday was July 4th. Sorry, we don't know because we just spent a week going really hard for the book tour and the book launch for the book we just published by John Redhouse, Bordertown Clashes, Resource Wars, Contested Territories, the Four Corners, and the Turbulent 1970s. It was incredible. On Tuesday, we were in Pyramid Lake, Nevada, on the Pyramid Lake Paiute Nation, where we did the official book launch on July 1st. And then we came to Albuquerque and we were here on the 3rd to do a book launch event. And then we were in Farmington, New Mexico on the 4th of July was actually like the best. I think it was the best event we had because John is actually from Farmington. And then yesterday we were at the Gallup Flea Market. We sold out almost the entire stock of books that we brought with us, which is kind of unprecedented. And so today we're extremely burnt out, but we're recording this for you anyway. And hence why we don't even know what day it is, because it's truly been a whirlwind. But also, what an incredible week. What an incredible week to get to know and to basically chauffeur, to basically be John Redhouse's entourage. What a legend. If you haven't ever heard of John Redhouse, please buy this book. It's a memoir that he wrote about his most active period on the front lines in the 1970s. A truly remarkable Navajo Red Power activist, freedom fighter, revolutionary, and also an incredible intellectual. He donated his collection to the Center for Southwest Research at the University of New Mexico, which is where I first encountered his work when I was working on my PhD over a decade ago. He's prolific. He's actually, I would argue, one of the most important Navajo scholars of the 20th and 21st century. And so, yeah, we had the incredible honor of publishing his book and then doing a whole book tour this past week. So what we're doing today for patrons is just a really informal conversation amongst comrades. Everyone you see here is a Red Nation comrade who was part of the entourage, part of taking care of John and making this whole book tour happen. And we're just going to talk a little bit about how the book tour went, and just like a debrief amongst comrades. So I'm going to hand it over to maybe Kyan to introduce himself, and then we'll go down the line with everyone, and then we'll just, get into it.
Hey everyone, of course my name is Kyan Benali. I've been on the episodes a couple times here and there, maybe more than a couple times, but I've been on. But yeah, joined the book tour, did a lot of the driving. I was behind the wheel most of the time, but I enjoy those types of things. So it was really fun to be a part of this. And just as Melanie said, this book was really amazing. It was really great to be a part of this and just to help out. And I did enjoy it, but yeah, part of Red Nation. But I think I was here more for like the Red Media hat. So I was mostly doing that from that angle. But good to be here. Got to hang out with these three and a couple more the entire time, and John. But glad to be here. Thanks.
Demetrius.
All right. What's up, everyone? My name is Demetrius Johnson. Been a Red Nation member for 10 years now. But yeah, I was also part of the John Redhouse entourage. I was serving more as like a caretaker, making sure that John, wherever John wanted, whatever John needed, he got. Making sure he got the medication that he needs and got to his place when he needed to. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Pass it to Cloud.
I'm Cloud. Kind of a newer member, Red Nation. I guess a newer face. But yeah, I was also part of the John Tourage.
The John Tourage!
Yeah, I was on
Yeah.
the live stream, the panel as well, asking a couple questions. Uh, yeah, it was really great being part of the tour and being able to hang out with John. Just like those little moments when we're not like on camera, were just like amazing.
Yeah, for folks who don't know, Kyan is the man behind a lot of our online content. He does a lot of graphics. He designed the flyer, did other things for the book tour. So, yep, Red Nation member, but also really important member of the Red Media team. The things you watch, the captioning, like all of that stuff is Kyan. So, thanks Kai for doing all that work for the podcast all these years and
Mhm.
for literally driving us around. Like, I think I live alone, and so I'd have to drive everywhere on my own. And so it was actually really nice to just be driven around in a van. It was one of my favorite parts. Got to sit in the back like a kid again. John and I were in the back of the van. For folks who maybe aren't familiar with like the geography of New Mexico, it's like not close. Where we were driving, Albuquerque to Farmington is like 3.5 hours. Farmington to Gallup is like 2.5 hours. Gallup back to Albuquerque is like 2.5, 3 hours. So yeah, like Kai's a hero for doing all that driving for sure. Um, the role that I played. So I spent the last year and a half kind of editing the book. John actually, it was really cute. We were talking to each other last week or a week and a half ago before the tour started, and he said I was kind of his agent. All of a sudden, I was like, "Holy shit!" I was like, "Wow, I think I'm kind of John's agent." I guess that's another thing I'm learning how to do. I don't know how to be an agent. I don't really understand what that entails, but
Show me the money!
But yeah, kind of John's agent brought this book into fruition. Helped to edit it. He asked me to write the introduction to it. So, and then I facilitated and hosted all of the events. And so kind of led the conversation, did commentary, asked him questions. And so that's the role that I played. Cloud also joined us for 2 of the events, Albuquerque and Farmington. Asked some questions and we sat on a panel, just having a live stream, but also public conversation with John about a number of things related to his life story. Yeah, so that's like the logistics of what we did. Maybe we can talk a little bit about how we feel. I mean, we had a debrief last night at the Fire Rock Casino. Wait, was that last night?
Yep.
Shit.
Mhm.
Man, no, this is something John said. It's like every single day it felt like a year had passed or whatever. That this week, that's how extraordinary this week has been. I feel like we've lived like half a lifetime together in just a week. That's how much we did, and I don't know how much we grew and learned, I think, throughout this past week. But yeah, just being around someone like John, maybe some of our patrons are familiar with the intergenerational nature, of the work and of the struggle. But just listening to them tell their story, their war stories, actually. The memoir is a series of war stories. Um, and I'm just being in their presence. It's like felt low key sacred in a way, to be totally honest. Not to be all cheesy and stuff, but yeah, when John left today, and I felt I felt really sad that it was coming to an end because it was like we had all like come together, you know, um, and it was just really special. So today's been a bit of a bummer, honestly. To be like, I actually got up this morning and I was like, "Where are we going next, guys?" Even though I'm physically exhausted. Yeah, that was the vibe. And John actually said he could have kept going. I think it was the time of his life. He's 74 and he wanted to write this book since he was 17 years old. So I got really emotional when he said that kind of at the beginning of the week. To make a 17-year-old budding radical's dreams come true. 55 years later, like that's a pretty big deal. So, yeah, what a goddamn honor to be a part of this. But if any of the rest of you all want to give any reflections on the significance of what we have accomplished this week.
Yeah, I liked, yeah, like I said earlier, I like the little moments that I was able to share with John. Like we were waiting outside of the hotel for someone to pick us up, or whenever we're like at breakfast, right? John has like such an amazing encyclopedic just like memory of indigenous resistance, like Navajo or indigenous resistance, right? And like I remember I just asked him like how he felt about being back in Farmington. I don't remember exactly what he said, but or like what started it, but he just kind of went into the like the prehistory of Farmington, right? Like pre-settler history. And was talking about the like Navajo migration into the area, right? And just like the kind of imagining what Farmington looked like before settlers like you know just destroyed it, right? And it like really struck me because John is like he's always on like his political analysis, just like he's always just like so deeply acutely critical of settler society. He's always on, and he's always like so aware of like the historical like like the historical moment he's in, and the importance of like understanding our history and our prehistory. And yeah, right, it's just like how like in settler society we have like white men who are like self-described history buffs who like I don't know who like know everything about World War II or like the Civil War, right? They know like the minutia of like someone's like diary, like right, their day-to-day existence. And it's like that history is like it's trivia, right? It's just like trivial history that like serves no purpose. But with John, there's always a purpose to it. There's always like a reason to like to know this history and to know that resistance. And yeah, like that really like clarified a lot for me, just sort of like where I exist and what kind of work that I want to do and want to continue doing. And yeah, that's kind of my main takeaways. Like I'm really grateful to be part of this.
I don't know. It was really great just to be able to let others feel these things like reconnection. And I think about this because the part that really stuck out to me was John getting to reunite with like all his like movement buddies and like seeing him like I don't know, like a lot of the times that took precedent over like the event itself, or like if we're there for a talk, it was like pretty much pause for him to like hug his buddy from the 70s or 80s, you know, or at the Gallup, we stopped at the Gallup flea market. Like everyone was coming in, like
It was wild.
they're giving their hugs for like a long time, and they were like, they were just like I don't know, reminiscing. They haven't seen each other in such a long time, and I think that was the takeaway for me. It was just like, man, if money and funding wasn't such a factor, it'd be really cool to do this for like all the like movement leaders, I guess, you know, like just to let them I guess you do all this work, and then maybe sometimes you don't exactly see the results right away, or you work with these people for such a long time, you just kind of grow apart in life. But maybe it's just nice for them to like um, relive these moments or go back to those feelings again. And yeah, I think that was the part I really enjoyed. It's like we're talking at Fire Rock, and we're doing all of our little talks at the end there, and I just said it's like cool seeing John get his band back together, you know. I was like cool seeing him in his element, I guess. And just yeah, John was I guess a leader and a movement leader. And but most of all, I think what I also like to think about is like he was just like a cool guy. Like I don't think, because I think today everyone, it's weird just like doing the stuff today. There's I feel like people treat it as like a title or like a identity or something, but
Being like an activist.
yeah, something like that. But John was just like a guy who wanted to help, and he did it was his thing, you know. and just hearing the stories just reaffirmed that, and just made me think like, yeah, it's kind of nice knowing that you don't have to like be an activist, or you don't have to be like walking the high road all the time. You can just be like a guy who's committed and wants to do this stuff. So I'll stop there. I think that's what I like most about it. So
I think as someone who spent a lot of time with John during this book tour, I don't know, like I feel like there's like layers to it, right? Like I'm someone who knew about John for as long as I've been organizing, for about 10 years. Never met him. This is probably like the most significant amount of time I've ever spent with John. But just understanding like the significance of his knowledge and his work to the liberation of our people. Obviously, like there's like a lot of like respect and a lot of honor with that. But how I'm feeling is like, I was just thinking about some of the things. It takes me a long time to process things, and so this was like kind of quick. But the thing that kept sticking out to me is kind of like what Kyan was saying, was like him reuniting with like some of the people he hasn't seen in a long time, or like people that he actually got to grow old with. And I say that because, you know, sometimes John shared, you know, just like while we're having breakfast or like while we're driving somewhere, while I'm just like waiting with him in the hotel lobby, like he'll just share some knowledge. And it was like particularly in Farmington, he talked about, you know, all his high school buddies or like people he organized with, like how a lot of them aren't there anymore, how they're all gone, how they all passed on. And I don't know, I just like kind of relate it to, you know, our like how, you know, the age that John was, like, or when John was my age, right? Like, and he had these people around and he was organizing with them, and some of them died during this,
violently.
during the 70s or during the 80s, or someone just like passed on as they got older, and he's one of the few left. And so him reuniting with like some of those people, like that got me really emotional. Seeing people that come out and support him, and there's like there was already so few, right, throughout his life, and even more so few like as he's in this elder stage. And I don't know, I just think about my comrades now, and also just like the kind of like the political moment we're in. I don't know, there's a lot to be learned, and it's like kind of coincidental, or like, I don't know. I'm just extremely grateful that this book is being released like during like the moment that we're in, especially as like Indigenous people in the Southwest. Like it was like a word that kept being thrown around the whole book tour. But yeah, this book is seriously like a gift from someone that preserved all that knowledge and remembered those that often didn't get remembered or talked about throughout history. Yeah, I just kept thinking about that, like, wow, John really honored a lot of people's lives who gave pretty much everything to the movement. And he talks about it in this book, and he talked about it throughout the book tour. And like, that's a real relative, that's a real comrade.
Yeah.
So
That's a real man. Yeah, he's incredibly down to earth. And what you were saying, Cloud, about he speaks with purpose. He's like, not, John doesn't perform. Like, that's what's, you know, there are a lot of elements of performativity in activism today, I think, especially because of social media and how it figures into organizing and the movement. And so there's none of that at all with John. He's literally just himself. You have a feeling he's always been this way since he was 17, you know, and he just says what he has to say. And then when he's done, he's like, okay, I'm done, you know, and it's like incredibly refreshing to see somebody. But what he has to say is significant, right? Because like you said, Claude, he won't say something unless it matters. And it's very like to the point. Like he makes very strong points. But yeah, it's just like he likes Laguna burgers, you know, and he likes chili, like, you know, he was like living through the food, and has a really good sense of humor. He's a really quiet, very quiet person. He always has sunglasses on. But yeah, just a very down to earth, just a brilliant ass man, but like truly one of the people. And like he has maintained that for his entire life into his mid 70s. And, you know, truly, I don't know, a model, I guess, for how, you know, he's about 30 years my senior, you know, how I can and should conduct myself, you know, as somebody who's committed to this path and this work for my whole lifetime. So that also really stuck out to me. Just incredibly easy to get along with and to be around, I think. Even though he's kind of like, he would not, I don't think he would want to be called a celebrity, but the welcome and the greeting that he received from our people, like the moment we got to the Gallup flea market yesterday morning, like literally just floods of people for hours and hours and hours, like we couldn't even catch our breath. um you know, in Farmington, like we packed the house. We even had to put out more chairs, you know, because so many people came and people were crying and hugging him and, you know, just embracing him. So he's, you know, he's truly a hero to so many generations of people, especially Diné people. And yet he's like the most humble dude. Like truly, he lives an extremely humble life. He and his wife, Carol. I don't know. I guess that's like a true warrior right there. Just one of the people. That's all he ever wanted. That's who he is. That's all he ever wanted to be, and to just contribute to our people. It's simple, actually. Nothing more, nothing less.
Yeah, right. Like thinking back to the flea market, right? What struck me most was being surrounded by the laughter, by the people, by the laughter, just the warmth. I think our booth was like the rowdiest booth, right? And yeah, it was just like laughter, yells, Dr. Dennedale just, you know, promoting the book. Yeah, and like, yeah, Farmington, he had a line of people just waiting to see, like, for him to sign, to talk to him, right? Yeah, he's just incredible, incredible guy. Good dude.
Mhm.
I like what you said about performance. Just to touch back on that real quick, because you're right. He doesn't perform, and he's quiet for the most part. But when he wants to talk, he can talk. And I just said it because even at the book talk, maybe if you watch the book talk episodes that will be coming out, he's really talking in them, you know. But I think it's just because that's like what he's like super passionate about. He just wants to share everything that's in his book. So yeah, I just thought about that when you mentioned performance, because like, yeah, I guess so. I guess he's not really performing. He's just being himself and sharing his book, sharing the knowledge that he likes to learn and share. So that's cool. I didn't think about it like that.
He is passionate. I'm glad you brought that up. He's an incredibly passionate, very passionate and compassionate person. Gentle, but also like to get throw down. Like, you know, just like I don't know, just a really extraordinary human being. Like truly.
Yeah, he never answered my question though. About the judo.
Oh, about the judo move?
No.
There's a famous, you'll read it in the book. It's about the long hot summer of 1974 when our relatives marched on Farmington, New Mexico for 6 weeks straight. And there's this famous moment when there was a riot. John was in the middle of it. They accused him of throwing some cops through a plate glass window. In the book, he says he just did like a quick move and the cops like actually threw themselves through the window. So that's what you're referring to, Cloud. Yeah. He told us that story. He was laughing. Like, those dumbass cops.
Yeah, that's my sign to make a sound. Honestly, what I'm thinking about when you guys are talking about all this is when I first met John Redhouse was back in, I think, 2023. When was the Larry Casus Day of Remembrance anniversary?
March of 2023.
Yeah, that's when I first met John Redhouse, and that's actually when I first had heard of him. I began learning about him through learning about Larry Casus, and John came to talk to us, some comrades at the Larry Casus Freedom Center that we had on Central, just down from UNM here in Albuquerque. And even then, like, it was, I was thinking about like my first exposure to the book, and you're talking about how we have his manuscripts and how we want to publish them through Red Media. And back then it was just like an idea. It was, or to me it was just an idea. Like, we had the Red Deal, but I just can't believe how far we come, like, from that moment. And he was really like, um he was giving us like stories and words of inspiration back then, but to really materially feel like what he was talking about back then now is like so, like touching. It's like he's like passing the baton, basically. And I even we're having like a real emotional, like, wrap up to the whole event when we're at Chay's Grill at Fire Rock Casino, closing up everything. And he said, "I feel very hopeful for the Red future."
Oh.
And he said that to us, like, as Red Nation. And it really just, like, I was already like kind of feeling like these layers of like yodedness of like the timeline of all of this, and how time, it's this like forward and backwards thing, like us as humans, we're experiencing it only going forward and stuff. But like, I really can't. It makes me think of that episode of Reservation Dogs, how they show their elders like back then in their day. And like it made me think of John, like, back then and in his day, and how like what they were doing back then is like very much present and relevant in the now. And like, but with like a newer generation of people who are carrying on these like traditions. And for us, it's Red Power and the existence and future of Red Power, until we win, until we win this war, we win this fight, we until there's no longer a need for Red Power, in the way that exists, as it exists right now. And it's this was just so profound for me, as a activist, as somebody whose home is in the movement. And it's just such a high honor to serve. Like, I've said all of this already, but it's just really like swirling around in my head when I'm thinking about what we just did. The absence of time is really like something to experience in movement spaces. It's like, we've been saying like day in and day out that everything feels like we go to sleep and it's like years happened in in the 6 hours of sleep we were getting every day. And even yesterday, or even right now, when you're like, we were at Fire Rock yesterday. Yesterday, it does feel like we were there like years ago. But it's just such a high honor to serve and to do this for our elders, and to really like truly appreciate who they are and who they were, especially for um, someone who's your comrade. Like, I call John and Carol both my comrades for the first time. And it's not like they're not my elders, but it's like they're standing with us, like neck and neck in the struggle. And it's just so like, I don't know. I Other than like you know um other elders that I've come to know in the movement, like Patuch Gilbert from Acoma, where I'm from, it's a really good feeling to be able to do these things, and to really think about who we are going to become in the movement as time moves forward, and as we age, and as new generations of Red Power um, come to exist, and our place in that timeline. And I don't know, I'll have more thoughts to come on it later, but ultimately I was just extremely grateful that John set an example for us on how to be and how to act and how to just continue Red Power at all stages of our lives.
Mhm. Hell yeah. Special shout out to Justine, who just spoke for organizing like most of the logistics for this. It was an extraordinary amount of work actually to make this happen. So yeah, we really we owe Justine a lot for doing that. Also off camera is Genevieve Yazzie, the interim operations director for Red Media. Also worked tirelessly to pull this off. Was here through thick and thin. Special shout out to Genevieve as well for all of the work. Actually, it was so sweet watching John interact with Genevieve. He was like very like kind of tender and gentle with Genevieve, and he's that way with like women leaders in particular. I've noticed this about him. He did this with Jennifer Dennett-Dale as well, and he like truly respects women. I think is the other thing that is like unusual. Like to find someone who genuinely, like a man, like a Native man who genuinely respects the leadership of women, and not just respects it, but like follows it or talks about women in a certain way. And so that was also really lovely, actually, to witness.
It was very
Very touching.
it was very lovely to be on the receiving end of that.
I know.
It was like man,
Deep appreciation and love. I know.
absolutely. Yeah, I made him cry this morning. All he said was "good shit, John." And he started crying. And it was really sad to see him leave.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was hard. I was not okay with it. But we had so much stuff we still had to do that you just had to move forward, have to plow forward with the work.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Honestly, I think it's going to take me like quite some time to really like digest and process everything that happened this week.
Me too. These
Yeah.
are just like my surface level thoughts.
Yeah, totally. In the immediate aftermath where we're running on fumes, basically. This isn't my best.
Yeah. One thing I want to note too is how much of a pleasure it was to work with a solid crew of people like Kyan, Dee, Cloud, Melanie, Genevieve, and John. It was mainly just us as the solid crew, taking care of John, setting up the events, and just pulling the whole thing off together. It was there was hiccups, but not on our part. Our flight got delayed on the way over here.
That sucked.
Other small stuff, but it's such a blessing to have comrades who are legit. And that's Red Nation, man. It was good.
John even commented on that,
Mm-hmm.
of how well organized it was. Yeah, he was very impressed. Yeah.
That's cool to know.
Right?
Yeah.
That means a lot to me. Like, we're not just some like ragtag group of shit kids, you know, like
Mm-hmm.
we take this seriously. We take ourselves seriously, not just the Red Nation, but in Red Media. Like we took this seriously. We'd never done this before. We'd never done a real book launch or a book tour. This is our very first time. And, you know, we're like kind of newbies to it. And so to be so well organized for the publicity, you know, and the marketing to be so thorough, to almost reach our targets with book sales, like we want our own press. Like it was very important for us to prove that we could do this. I think mostly to ourselves, but also, I don't know, just to everyone, you know, like we want to be taken seriously. We want to be an independent press sooner than later. We're currently an imprint. And so in addition to like the movement stuff, like that layer where if you're doing things within movement spaces, it needs to be handled in a particular way. Then when you're working with an elder, that also needs to be handled in a particular way. But then when you're doing logistics for like a press or a book publication, that also has to be handled in a particular way. And to be able to move between those spaces rather seamlessly, I think, honestly, it really speaks to the maturity and the experience that we all have. Those folks who were part of this book tour and this book launch event. And I was like, I don't remember which event it was. Maybe it was Albuquerque. I was just looking at our books, the books we were selling, and I was like, shit, like a decade ago, literally none of this existed. Like none of this existed. We built all of this, you know? Like, I don't know. I'm just really fucking proud of us for doing all of this. And to even through everything we've been through, to take ourselves so seriously, and to keep building. And I don't know. John made this comment about like, he's like, back then, he's like, we just thought it up and we did it. You would just think something up and you would just do it. It wasn't complicated. It wasn't all of this and this. And I would say, really, in both Red Media and the Red Nation, that's kind of still how we operate. We think it up and we do it. Like sometimes funding is an issue and you have to figure that shit out. But for the most part, that's still how we operate. We don't really, I don't know, things don't really get in the way, as they probably do for other organizations and such. So yeah, this felt really good. We thought it up and we did it. I don't know. It can actually be as simple as that. And you can accomplish a great deal by just having that attitude and just like doing it and getting the work done and having a kick-ass team dedicated to it. Yep. Like you all.
I think that's a really great way to wrap up just this quick debrief that we're doing. But there's one thing that I was hoping would be said by D. When I was told, or when Melanie got me in a meeting with Common Notions and Red Media, it was just like, we're launching this book. Let's do a book tour. I'm like, hell yeah, let's get Red Nation in on this. And so I had to pitch to Red Nation, like, is this something we want to do? I mean, obviously. But I still said they need to get consent on, right? And I remember D in the meeting was like, sort of going over like the profound moment it is that this book was coming out, like it being the same year as Leonard Peltier going home. And I can't, I'm not to put you on the spot, D, but like you said something along the lines of how these elders from back then, from that specific era of the Red Power movement, are coming to us right now for specific reasons. And I just thought that was such a profound like connection to make. And I don't know if you want to like clean up what I said or if you want to add to that, but we're at 41 minutes. We want to make this around 45. D, would you like to?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Just for some quick context, I used to work for Indian Collective, which is an indigenous-led nonprofit organization based out of Rapid City, South Dakota. I was a contractor at the time for Tactical Media, and it's pretty much like one of the two social media teams that Indian Collective has. But yeah, Indian Collective was the one spearheading Leonard Peltier's clemency or like release campaign for like the last few years. And yeah, like they were like a major part of like why Leonard Peltier got released earlier this year. And so being able to like work closely with, some of like the leaders in Indian Collective and all these other leaders that have worked on Leonard Peltier's like, release campaign for decades, or even just like coming in like the last few years, like I got like insight, or like I got to really hear or like follow this story of Leonard being released, and even having the opportunity to be like on a call with him while he was still imprisoned, or like as he was like getting out, right? Like I kind of got a glimpse into all of it, and like what an honor that was. But you know, talking about John's book, and you know, like if Red Nation wants to get involved, or like how we can help Red Media, it just came too naturally, or like it was almost like very, again, like very coincidental. Like we're seeing like, you know, Trump's reelection, we're seeing like, you know, the rise and kind of like the, like what, you know, what we talk about, like, oh, like fascism is coming now, fascism is here. We're seeing like the detainment of, you know, our migrant relatives, the killing and continued genocide of our Palestinian relatives, even seeing like our own people, Diné people, like getting rounded up by ICE and being deported. We're seeing like all these things, right? Like we're seeing just like this huge, what would you like, just hammer of just, I don't know, shit against like us as indigenous people, but also like, you know, our world, our Nihima Nahadza, like just like crazy, just like immense defeat. But it's like, you know, Leonard Peltier is free. That was a huge victory. Like in like the most like, I don't know, intense period of like just the rise of all these things that it like, just colonialism, just capitalism, just crazy, just imperialism, just like on overdrive, unregulated. But we have our elders that have survived all these things, like Leonard Peltier being in prison for decades, and now John like coming out with his book that Melanie said like took like 47 years or something, right, since he was 17. Like this book in the making being released, and them being able to like offer like glimpses of hope, you know, people that have just like, you know, survived like the most, like during their time to like COINTELPRO and like all like assassinations,
brutal state repression.
like what, like what is like, what are like the chances, right? Like how, like them coming back and like giving us like these lessons, these tools, this knowledge from like what they survived and now passing it on to us. Like it was such an, like, I don't know, like it's just talking about time, talking about all this stuff, like it's beautiful. And for them to say like they have hope after all the shit they've seen, like after all the people they've lost, after all everything like they've gone through, to for them to say they have hope, like, you know, what excuse do we have? You know, what, how can we like betray that? How can we like look away from that? How can we like hide from that? And yeah, like I think this book tour again is just like another victory of what our people need in this moment. Yeah, it's it.
Perfect. Thank you, D. One last thing. Did anybody thank Melanie on this episode? Jesus. Thank you, Melanie, for making this happen.
Yeah, Melanie.
Where's my cake?
It was
Yeah.
it was implied.
Yeah.
I want a chantilly cake.
Get you cake from Dashes.
And thank you, patrons. Like y'all funded this book, and you guys funded this book tour. Y'all funded Red Media, and that's why we had the resources we had to do this entire thing.
Yep.
So thank you, and
you are a part of this victory that we've had. I like how you framed it, D. The release of this book is a victory in the struggle for Native liberation, and you were a part of it. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. One last thing. Last thing. Last thing. John called just like a while ago to say that he landed at home. So he got home safely. And exactly when he called, There was the biggest double infinity rainbow in the sky.
Oh yeah.
So, hell yeah. Let's go. Let's go.
Let's go.
All right. Thank you, comrades.